अल्लाह रब्बुल इज़्ज़त की ज़ात का शुक्र है कि जिसकी तौफीक से आज हम मिनहाजुल कुरान इंटरनेशनल कनाडा की इस मरकज़ पर 12 रोज़ा महाफिल में से आज हम 8वीं नशिस्त में हाजिर हैं। अल्लाह रब्बुल इज़्ज़त हमारी इस हाज़िरी को अपनी बारगाह में कबूल फरमाए। आज की इस बाबरकत मजलिस का आगाज़ करने के लिए मैं मुल्तमिस हूँ ज़ीनतुल कुर्रा फ़ख्रुल कुर्रा कारी शफीक अहमद नाइमी अल अज़री और कारी हसन वाहफा साहब वो तशरीफ़ लाए और मिलकर तिलावत करें इस प्रोग्राम का आगाज़ फरमाएं।
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات
كانت لهم جنات الفردوس نزلا
خالدين فيها لا يبغون عنها حولا.
قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي
لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا.
قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد.
قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد.
قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد.
فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا
فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا.
كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا.
فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا
فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا.
صدق الله العظيم.
माशाल्लाह सुबहानल्लाह। ये थे मोहतरम कारी शफीक अहमद नाइमी अल अज़हरी साहब और उनके फर्जंद कारी हसन बाहवा साहब, जो एक खूबसूरत अंदाज से कलामी इलाही से हमारे दिलों को मुनव्वर फरमा रहे थे। इन्होंने सूरह मरियम की आयत नंबर 107 से लेकर 110 की तिलावत करने का शर्फ हासिल किया। सूरह कहफ की आयत नंबर 107 से 110 की तिलावत करने का शर्फ हासिल किया। तर्जुमा समात फरमा लें। Surely those who believe and do good deeds persistently shall have the gardens of paradise as their hospitality. They will always live there. They will never seek any change of abode from there. Say, if the ocean turns into ink for the words of my Lord, that ocean will exhaust before the words of my Lord come to an end, even if we bring another similar ocean or ink to refill. Say, I look like you only by virtue of my visible creation as a man. Otherwise, just think what congruity you have with me. It is I to whom the revelation has been transmitted, that to your God is the one and only God. And just see to it whether you have any such divine potential that the word of Allah may come down to you. So, whoever hopes to meet his Lord should do good deeds and must not associate any partner in the worship of his Lord. Sadaqallahul Azim.
माशाल्लाह सुबहानल्लाह। अब मैं मुल्तमिस हूँ मोहतरम सोहेल वाहिद सदीकी साहब से कि वो तशरीफ लाए तो रिसालत माब सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम में अपनी अकीदत पेश फरमाएं। सोहेल वाहिद सदीकी साहब।
बस दुरूद पाक पढ़िए। सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि या रसूल अल्लाह وسلم عليك يا حبيب الله. عید نبوی کا زمانہ آ گیا، عید نبوی کا زمانہ آ گیا، لب پہ خوشیوں کا ترانہ آ گیا، عید نبوی کا زمانہ آ گیا، ہر ستارے کو ملی ہے روشنی، ہر کلی کو مسکرانا آ گیا، عید نبوی کا زمانہ آ گیا، پرچم دین محمد ہو بلند، کفر کو گردن جھکانا آ گیا، عید نبوی کا زمانہ آ گیا، کیوں نہ ہو قسمت کے ماروں بے کرم، پاس رحمت کا خزانہ آ گیا، عید نبوی کا زمانہ آ گیا، آج چمکا دو کرو دیوار کو، عاشقوں کا دن سہانا آ گیا، عید نبوی کا زمانہ آ گیا۔
ماشاءاللہ سبحان اللہ، یہ تھے محترم سہیل واحد صدیقی صاحب جو اپنی خوبصورت آواز کے ساتھ حضور صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم کی بارگاہ میں ہدیہ پیش کر رہے تھے۔ اب میں گزارش کروں گا محترم حافظ عاصم چوگتائی صاحب سے کہ وہ تشریف لائے اور اپنی خوبصورت انداز کے ساتھ حضور صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم کی بارگاہ میں اپنی حاضری لگوائے۔ حافظ عاصم چوگتائی صاحب۔
بسم اللہ۔ اللہ پڑھتا ہے درود اپنے حبیب پر، اللہ پڑھتا ہے درود اپنے حبیب پر، رحمان جو کرتا ہے وہ تم بھی کیا کرو،
اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد، اللهم صل على
سیدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آلہ وصحبہ وبارک وسلم، اللہم صل
على سيدنا ومولانا محمد اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد. میرے نبی سے میرا رشتہ کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. میرے نبی سے میرا رشتہ کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. لب پہ نعت پاک کا نغمہ کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. لب پہ نعت نبی کا نغمہ کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. اور کسی جانب کیوں جائیں اور کسی کو کیوں دیکھیں اور کسی جانب کیوں جائیں اور کسی کو کیوں دیکھیں. اپنا سب کچھ گنبد خضرا کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. اپنا سب کچھ گنبد خضرا کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. لب پہ نعت نبی کا نغمہ کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. اور پست وہ کیسے ہو سکتا ہے جس کو حق نے بلند کیا. پست وہ کیسے ہو سکتا ہے جس کو حق نے بلند کیا. دونوں جہاں میں ان کا چرچا کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. دونوں جہاں میں ان کا چرچا کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. لب پہ نعت نبی کا نغمہ کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. ان کے فیض سے بنجر سینوں نے شادابی پائی ہے. ان کے فیض سے بنجر سینوں نے شادابی پائی ہے. موج میں رحمت کا وہ دریا کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. موج میں رحمت کا وہ دریا کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. لب پہ نعت پاک کا نغمہ کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. بتلا دو ہر دشمن بھی کو غیرت مسلم زندہ ہے. بتلا دو گستاخ نبی کو غیرت مسلم زندہ ہے. ان پہ مر مٹنے کا جذبہ کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. ان پہ مر مٹنے کا جذبہ کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے. لب پہ نعت پاک کا نغمہ کل بھی تھا اور آج بھی ہے.
ماشاء اللہ سبحان اللہ. یہ محترم حافظ عاصم چغتائی صاحب جو اپنی خوبصورت انداز کے ساتھ حضور پر نور صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم کی بارگاہ میں اپنی حاضری لگوا رہے تھے. ہر ابتدا سے پہلے، ہر انتہا کے بعد، ہر ابتدا سے پہلے، ہر انتہا کے بعد ذات نبی بلند ہے. ذات خدا کے بعد دنیا میں احترام کے لائق ہے جتنے لوگ، دنیا میں احترام ہے کے لائق جتنے لوگ میں سب کو مانتا ہوں مگر مصطفیٰ کے بعد، میں سب کو مانتا ہوں مگر مصطفیٰ کے بعد. اسی کے ساتھ میں گزارش کروں گا محترم ناصر رستم صاحب سے کہ وہ تشریف لائے اور حضور صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم کی بارگاہ میں ہدیہ کلام پیش فرمائیں. رسول اللہ
وسلم عليك يا حبيب الله صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله وسلم عليك يا حبيب الله.
اللہ اللہ لا الہ الا هو اللہ اللہ لا الہ الا هو. حضرت آمین بی بی کے گلشن میں آئی ہے تازہ بہار، کرتے ہیں صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم آج درودی و نبی جی. اللہ اللہ
الله لا إله إلا هو.
ربیع الاول کو وہ آیا دور رسول، ماہ نبوت میں رسالت، صاحب خلق عظیم نبی جی. اللہ
الله الله لا إله إلا هو. الله 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 لا إله إلا هو.
کملی والا قرآن کی تفسیر، حاضر و ناظر و شہید و قاسم، آیا سراجی منیر نبی کی. اللہ اللہ اللہ
لا إله إلا هو. الله 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 لا إله إلا هو.
واللہ سب کچھ جانے دیکھنے تو قریب، غیب کے خبریں دینے والا اللہ کا وہ حبیب نبی جی. اللہ اللہ اللہ
الله لا إله إلا هو. الله الله لا إله إلا
جھولا لو شان سو جا رحمت عالم دو جگ کے سلطان نبی تھی
الله 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 لا إله إلا الله 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 لا میرے ساتھ مل کر نذرانہ صلی اللہ علیہ یا رسول اللہ وسلم علیہ یا حبیب اللہ یا وسلم علیک یا حبیب اللہ حال دل کس کو سنائے حال دل کس کو سنائے آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے حال دل کس کو سنائے آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے کیوں کسی کے در پہ جائیں کیوں کسی کے در پہ جائیں آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے کیوں کسی کے در پہ جائیں آپ کے ہوتے اور میں غلام مصطفیٰ ہوں یہ میری پہچان ہے میں غلام مصطفیٰ ہوں یہ میری پہچان ہے غم مجھے کیوں کر ستائے غم مجھے کیوں کر ستائے آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے غم مجھے کیوں کر ستائے آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے کیوں کسی کے در پہ جائیں آپ کے ہوتے اور اپنا جینا اپنا مرنا اب اسی چوکھٹ پہ ہے اپنا جینا اپنا مرنا اب اسی چوکھٹ پہ ہے ہم کہاں سرکار جائیں ہم کہاں سرکار جائیں آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے ہم کہاں سرکار جائیں، آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے کیوں کسی کے در پہ جائیں، آپ کے ہوتے اور کہہ رہا ہے آپ کا رب انت فیہم، آپ سے کہہ رہا ہے آپ کا رب انت فیہم، آپ سے کیوں عذاب ان پر میں بھیجوں، کیوں عذاب ان پر میں بھیجوں، آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے کیوں عذاب ان پر میں بھیجوں، آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے کیوں کسی کے در پہ جائیں، آپ کے ہوتے اور کون ہے الطاف اپنا حال دل کے سے کہیں، کون ہے الطاف اپنا حال دل کے سے کہیں، زخم دل کس کو دکھائیں، زخم دل کس کو دکھائیں، آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے کیوں کسی کے در پہ جائیں، آپ کے ہوتے ہوئے
ماشاء اللہ، سبحان اللہ. یہ تھے محترم المقام قاری شفیق احمد نعیمی الازہری، جو اپنی خوبصورت آواز کے ساتھ حضور صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم کی بارگاہ میں ہدیہ کلام پیش فرما رہے تھے. اب دعوت خطاب میں دیتا ہوں حافظ عبداللہ فاضل صاحب سے کہ وہ آئے اور اپنی گفتگو اس بابرکت مجلس کے حوالے سے فرمائیں.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الأمين المكين الكريم الرؤوف الرحيم. بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. کاش وہ چہرہ میری آنکھ نے دیکھا ہوتا، مجھ کو تقدیر نے اسی دور میں لکھا ہوتا. باتیں سنتا میں کبھی پوچھتا معنی ہوگا، میں آپ کے سامنے اصحاب میں بیٹھا ہوتا. آپ کے پیچھے کھڑے ہو کر نمازیں پڑھتا، آپ کے قدموں کے پیچھے مجھے سجدہ ملتا. Respected brothers and sisters, the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam was the reason and is the reason that people continue to come towards Islam, irrelevant of what the media or what the so-called Western world may portray Islam to be like. One of the things that people do not understand is the difference between adab and akhlaq. Adab is manners, and akhlaq is morality. Adab can be exemplified with your actions and your habits. There is an adab of sitting, adab of drinking water, adab of placing your hands, adab of looking, adab of speaking. Akhlaq is something that is inbuilt within your character. The greater you perform your adab, the better your akhlaq will be. The greater, the better, the more you perform your adab, the more you follow the adab which is taught by our elders and by the sunnah, the greater your akhlaq will be. And the greater your akhlaq is, the greater your rank in Jannah will be. Another way to look at it, the easier, the more akhlaq you have, ibadat becomes easier as well. But keep in mind, ibadat takes you to Jannah. Akhlaq takes you to Allah. Adab, ibadat takes you to Allah, takes you to Jannah. Akhlaq takes you to Allah. And that is the reason why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, even before he announced that he was the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was known as As-Sadiq and Al-Amin. Before he made the declaration, there's a very famous waqia, which is in the Musnad of Imam Shayba. He narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, by trade, he used to be first a shepherd. And he had declared that all the individuals, all prophets before me were shepherds by some extent. His next trade was a businessman. He was a merchant. He used to trade in goods. In Mecca, it was a hub, so to speak. It was like the New York of today's day and age, where people would come in and trade the goods. And the reason was the Kaaba. People came, they used to do tawaf to idols that they used to worship, and they used to trade in the goods that they used to bring. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam met another tajir, a merchant, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was selling something. The merchant, he says that, wait here, and it was near a well. Wait here, I will be back in a little while. I will be back in a little while. Do not move from here, because I will not be able to find you anywhere in Makkah. Stay here. I will be back within a little bit of a time frame, and I will return your goods with some money as well. So the individual leaves, and Rasulullah is seated beside the well. A day passes by. 2 days pass by. 3 days pass by. The merchant on the third day, as he's about to leave, his eye goes on the thing that he had bought from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he says, "Oh, I forgot to give the money to the so-called Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam." And on the third day, he says, "Well, there's no way that he'll be staying at the well. There's no way. He must have gone home. So you know what? Let's forget about it. I have the goods." As he's leaving, he says, "You know what? I might as well try to find him. It doesn't sit well with me." So he goes to the same well where he had exchanged the good with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah is sitting right there. Third day, merchant comes up to him and he says, "Oh Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's been 3 days and you remain in the exact same spot that you remained in since 3 days ago." He says, "I had given you my word that I would remain here." This was the akhlaq of Rasulullah even before he declared that he is the Nabi of Allah. Such was the power of the tongue of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. By the way, by the time the person came, Rasulullah's first question wasn't, "Where have you been?" You know what his first response was? "Is everything okay? It's been 3 days. Is everything okay? Are you in well? Did the people of Quraysh treat you well?" He says, "Alhamdulillah." He says, "I am good. I am fine. But why are you still seated there?" And then Rasulullah said that I had given you my word. This was the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, exemplified through his adab. You know, many stories where individuals, there's a woman who used to throw garbage on Rasulullah sallallahu, very famous story. It's weak, but I'm still sharing it with you. She used to throw garbage at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One day he's walking the same street in Mecca. The woman is not throwing garbage on that. So what does Rasulullah do? He says, let me go check on that woman because it seems that she's sick. Why hasn't she thrown garbage upon me? Let me go check upon her today. Such akhlaq in the adab of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Hazrat Abdullah ibn Mubarak radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he says that I was a Jew and I was a scholar of the Jew. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam is coming from Makkah to Medina on the Hijrah. And I'm hearing that Nabi, a prophet is coming. By the way, on the Hijrah, a very interesting waqia comes to my mind. Same Musnad of Imam Ibn Shaba. He writes that very famous in the Ghar, in the cave that he stayed at, you all know the story of the snake, that he had dug holes. Musnad of Imam Ibn Shaba, he writes that the snake had dug up 800 holes. Some narrations 80, other narrations 800 holes. And this snake had dug up all of these holes because it was told by his father, who was told by his father, who was told by his father, all the way 700-800 years, Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, that the Nabi after me will cross from this path and he will remain in this cave. So he had dug up all of these holes to be able to do ziyarah of the Prophet to come. Very famous, Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you stay behind. Let me go and let me cover up all of the holes that the snake had dug up. He covers all of the holes. There's one hole remaining. What does he do with that hole? He covers it with his heel. And he says, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, come in. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam comes in, places his head on the lap of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and falls asleep. A little while later, he notices that tears of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu are falling. In Musnad of Imam Ibn Shaba, he writes in the commentary, he says that the snake had no choice but to bite Abu Bakr because he left him with no choice. All the mehnat, all the hard work of all of the progeny before him was going to waste because Muhammad was going to leave and he was unable to do ziyarat of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Some ulama, they also write, he knew that Rasulullah was there. So even if I bite the foot of Abu Bakr, Rasulullah would save him. And Rasulullah actually sucked out the poison from the heel of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So Abdullah Ibn Salam, he says that I'm waiting for Rasulullah to come on the Hijrah. He says, the moment I come, I gather my students. And they say that the moment he steps into Madinatul Munawwara, we will do munazara. We will do debate. Let's see how powerful this Nabi of the Muslims of Islam is. So he goes, and as you know, Tala al-Badru alayna, everyone is chanting it. Abdullah ibn Salam and his goons and his Jewish followers, they try to pass through the Muslims. He goes there, and the students are usually more motivated than the alim, than the scholar. They want to see some sort of a debate and a fight happen. So they're there waiting. The moment Abdullah ibn Salam looks upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he lowers his gaze and he says, "Oh Muhammad, I wish to accept Islam." The followers around him, they say, "You came to do munazara and debate with Muhammad, and upon one look, you've accepted Islam. What is this?" He says, "Don't you see that face? That face cannot be the face of anyone except the true Nabi of Allah." The face of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Hazrat Aisha, on more than one occasion, she writes, she says that I would lose a pin or a needle, and it would be the dead of night. It would be the new moon, meaning there was nothing there, complete darkness, no light of the moon. So I would be very disappointed, in Urdu, Preshan. What is going to happen? The needle might prick, the needle might prick. So she says, Rasulullah used to enter his face into my hujrah onto the ground, And with that noor from the face of Rasulullah, the entire floor would become flooded. And I could find the needle. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, very famous narration I believe it's in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. There is a famous companion, many of you should know his name, Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. It is the Ghazwa of Tabuk, the Battle of Tabuk. All of the companions have been told, gather your belongings, let's go. It's time to fight. It's time to wage war against the mushrikeen, against the people who give harm towards Islam. Everyone goes. So does Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Abu Dhar al-Ghifari has a camel. This camel is one of the oldest in Medina at that time. And Abu Dhar al-Ghifari has so many things, armor and shields and other caravan stuff, that the camel refuses to move. Some hours pass. By this time, the contingent of 30,000 with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Dhar al-Ghifari cannot see. So what does Abu Dhar al-Ghifari do? He takes the armor, he takes the rest of the belongings that he has, places it on his back, and begins to walk. In the Musnad of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, it says he walked 700 kilometers. I dare you to walk 1 kilometer in the sand of Arabia without a camel. You can't even do it with a bike. 700 kilometers away with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, the companions have gathered. And the companions are, in English, it's called sucking up to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Ya Rasulullah, me and my friend has come. Ya Rasulullah, look, my brother has come. Ya Rasulullah, look, my father has come. Ya Rasulullah, you know him? So and so, he has not come. Ya Rasulullah, so and so, he has not come. Ya Rasulullah, so and so, he has not come. We often do this in our circles as well. To get close to someone, we do ab of someone else to build trust with that individual. Human psychology. So Rasulullah is listening. One of the ashab, they say, you know Abu Dhar al-Ghifari? He came with Josh and Jazba, but his camel refused to leave Medina. So he's all the way over there. Rasulullah stops him. And he says, not Abu Dhar al-Ghifari. The companion says, what do you mean, Ya Rasulullah? Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He says, I believe Abu Dhar is on his way. I believe Abu Dhar is on his way. All of a sudden, way back in the distance, they notice a shadow, a small figure walking by. Rasulullah says, I pray to Allah that be Abu Dhar al-Ghifari. Sarkar, there's a very famous narration, I've forgotten it, but Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam himself is praying that individual be Abu Dhar al-Ghifari. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that on the day of judgment, perhaps he will make dua to Allah as we are crossing the bridge of Sirat. Oh Allah, may this person be so and so from my ummah. Oh Allah, may this person be so and so from my ummah. Ameen. One final story that comes to my mind, inshallah, and we'll take our leave. Abu Basir radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, a very, very famous companion. He's a hero of Hudaybiyah. Everyone should know his name. These are the sacrifices of the individuals because of whom we are able to become Muslim. Abu Basir radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, everyone knows the story of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. If Muslims get caught, they must be returned. They cannot be returned to Medina. If a non-Muslim gets caught by the Muslims, he must be returned to Makkah. This is before the Fatah of Makkah. Abu Basir is captured. Abu Basir, he runs away. The captors are behind Abu Basir. He runs into Medina. As soon as he runs into Medina, he begins to put his hands up like this. Ya Rasulullah, I'm here. Ya Rasulullah, I'm here. Ya Rasulullah, I'm here. Right behind him are captors. The captors reach as soon as Abu Basir reaches. And the captors from the Quraysh, they say, Ya Rasulullah, remember your agreement. You're a Sadiq and al-Amin. A Muslim has escaped from Makkah. He must now be returned to Makkah. So imagine an individual who's traveled hundreds of kilometers with chains around his feet, looking for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But Rasulullah does haqq and adl. So he looks and he says, Abu Basir, go back. Abu Basir, go back. Imagine what must have happened through and to Abu Basir radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Abu Basir, labbaik ya Rasulullah, as you say. And Abu Basir gets captured. And on the way back, Abu Basir manages to escape again and kills one of the captors. And then he thinks to himself, I cannot go to Makkah. I cannot go to Medina. But he says, I did remember Rasulullah saying as I was leaving, Oh Abu Basir, wait for my call, wait for my command, I will call upon you. He says, Abu Basir, that I will make a small hut on the outskirts of Medina, waiting for the call of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. A few months pass, Abu Basir is extremely sick now, extremely sick. He's been eating leaves and water mixed with sand. He becomes sick. Abu Basir is holding on to his iman, holding on to his life. So individuals around him, they say, Abu Basir, why don't you pass away? Abu Basir says, because Rasulullah has not called upon me yet. My life cannot leave me until Rasulullah leaves. In the meantime, the mu'aydah of the Hudaybiyah is broken. Somebody calls, Oh Abu Basir, Rasulullah calls upon you. Abu Basir raises his right hand and he says, my Nabi always speaks haqq. And on these words, he passes away. There was an individual, an elderly companion. And elderly individuals, what tends to happen is they lose sense. They don't have the common sense that somebody younger might have. You might have seen this with your grandparents. They will say whatever they want in front of whoever is in front. They don't care. So there was this elderly companion. This elderly companion went and seated himself in a small street of Medina. I've mentioned this story many times, but it's a very beautiful story of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Seated himself in a small area that was specific for women. Rasulullah walks by and he sees his elderly companion seated in a position in a street especially for women. So he calls out in Jalal, Rasulullah does, Oh my elderly companion, what are you doing? The elderly companion, seeing the Jalal of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, panics. He says, Ya Rasulullah, I was looking for my camel. And then he grabs his forehead. I don't own a camel. I don't own a camel. Rasulullah and everyone in Medina knows this fact. Rasulullah by this time knows what's going on. So he smiles and he says, Oh my companion, come here. The companion comes. He says, Oh my companion, tell me when you find this camel of yours. That this time the companion is thinking, this street is so small that even men have trouble crossing. How would a camel fit in this street? What have I done? And what have I said? And who have I said it to? So that thereafter, the companion says, every time I would see Rasulullah would say, Oh my companion, have you found your camel? Oh my companion, have you seen your camel? And the companion thinks to himself, I don't own a camel. How do I explain to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam? So he says, I became extremely ashamed and embarrassed to remain with the ashab and to remain in the company of Rasulullah. I used to enter Masjid al-Nabi when Rasulullah used to say takbir. And as soon as Rasulullah would say assalamu alaikum, I would run away because I didn't want Rasulullah to question me. So he says, one day I heard that Rasulullah is out. He's out on some mission. He's out on some contingent. He's out on some dawah. He leaves. So he says, today I'm going to enter Masjid al-Nabi. And I'm going to fulfill my salah and my worship in Masjid al-Nabi to my heart's content. So he says, I go, I raise my hands for takbir, and I begin to read salah in Masjid al-Nabi. He says, as I'm reading, I begin to smell the smell of nubuwwah. I smell Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. And out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that Rasulullah has come and he's seated right beside me, a little distance away. I see him. He says, now I'm in a little bit of a dilemma. If I finish my salah and Rasulullah sees me, he's going to question me about my camel. So instantly, we all do this as well. We're always thinking what to do in our job. We're stuck in this scenario, what to do. This companion was in a very similar situation. So he says, what do I do to escape from the embarrassment that Rasulullah is going to put me through? So he says, I began to read all of the Quran that I knew. And I read and I read and I read and I read. And when I would go into ruku, I would do as much tasbih as possible. Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, until my back could not support me anymore. Then I would raise my head. And every time I would complete an action from ruku to qiyam to sujood, from sujood to tashahud, every time I would look, Rasulullah is still there. Rasulullah is still there. Rasulullah is still there. So he says, the final tashahud comes. The 2 rakahs of Salat al-Nafil. Final tashahud comes. I'm seated in tashahud. I raise my finger for Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. As I raise this finger, he says, now as I read durood upon Rasulullah, I'm plotting. How do I get into my next salah without paying attention to Rasulullah? So he says, I plan that when I finish the last dua after the durood upon Rasul and the al of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I will say, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. Immediately stand up, Allahu Akbar, and begin my next salah. This is Nabi of Allah. How long will he wait for me? A few more minutes? At some point, he has to go and do very important tasks. He's not going to wait for one elderly companion. So this is exactly what he does. Tashahud. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. The companion stands up. Allah. For the next 2 rakahs. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he looks at the companion and he says, oh my companion, today you can read 100 rakah, but I will meet with you today. But I will meet with you today. So the companion, his hands are raised. He now leaves his hands in defeat. And he cannot meet the gaze of Rasulullah out of embarrassment and out of shame. So Rasulullah, he looks at him and he says, oh my companion, what kind of friendship is this? What kind of companionship is this? You don't like me? You don't like Masjid al-Nabwi? The companion, he says, elderly, I wish to speak, but the jalal and the haiba of Rasulullah is such, how can I speak? What can I speak? So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he walks the few steps, grabs the companion's arms, yanks it, and hugs him tight. Bends down, whispers into the ears of the companion, oh my companion, I will never ask you about your camel again. This was the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Sahih Muslim, a Jewish woman by the name of Zainab, she sends meat with poison in it. Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas, he says that the poison meat comes in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah began to pick up that morsel of food to eat it. As he's eating it, the poison meat begins to speak to Rasulullah. Ya Rasulullah, don't eat me. I'm poison. Ya Rasulullah, don't eat me. I'm poison. And as he's eating it, Hazrat Umar hears this, orders the woman to be brought to Rasulullah. The woman is brought to Rasulullah. They ask, oh, Ya Rasulullah, we're going to behead this woman. Is that okay? Rasulullah says, leave this woman. Forgive her, for I have forgiven her. The Nabi who forgives an assassination attempt upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And one final notice and a lesson for you all. Many fathers have children. And as the children go older, they often debate with their father. And they debate with their mother. And they debate with their elders. We know better. You don't know better. Hazrat Umar was also in a similar predicament. His son, one of his sons, he speaks to Rasulullah, and our children do this a lot. Yes, father, that was then, this is now. That was your time, this is our time. That worked 50 years ago without social media. This is now. We know. So this companion, he says, Hazrat Umar, he gives his dalil, and he says, this is the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The son says, yes, my father, I agree. But the moment the son of Umar ibn al-Khattab says, but, he unsheathes his sword as Hazrat Umar ibn al-Khattab places it on the shoulder of his son, and he says, you are no more welcome into my home. You are no longer welcome into my home. 3 days, the son of Umar ibn al-Khattab wanders the streets of Medina. The Amir al-Mu'mineen at the time is Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq speaks to the young man. He says, you are the son of Umar. Why are you wandering the streets of Medina? Haven't you heard? My father is a cruel man. He has kicked me out from the house because we were having a debate. Abu Bakr says, indeed, Umar is a very angry man. He's a man full of jalal. Come, let me rectify the solution. Let me rectify the issue. Let me solve the solution for you. Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq grabs the man's hand, takes him back into the house of Umar ibn al-Khattab. Umar ibn al-Khattab, the moment he sees Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he says, oh, Abu Bakr, I know why you're here, but I will not forgive my son. Do you know what he said? He said, when I gave him the hadith of Rasulullah, he said, but. And oh, Abu Bakr, you have children as well. Tell me, what would you have done if your child had said, but to the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam? For example, hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is that men should not wear gold. And if a child says, yes, but I don't wear the gold for that reason, I wear the gold chain because, you need to show off your wealth. Or women or men should not wear earrings. Yes, but it's not to look like a female. It's just to be with the crowd, with the cool crowd. It's to look like the part of a proper person. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he says, Umar, you simply place the sword on the shoulder of your son. I would have cut his head off. This was the level of following of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow our youth to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ameen. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
MashaAllah. Ye the Janab Sheikh Abdullah Sahib. And now I will request Brother Nizam, please come forward and recite Naam. I was looking for you before and I couldn't see you. I wanted to listen and not from you, but I will request you please come forward and recite Durud on Rasulullah.
صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك صلوات الله عليك صلوات الله عليك أنت شمس أنت بدر أنت نور فوق نوري أنت إكسير وغالي أنت مصباح الصدور يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيب سلام عليك
صلوات الله عليك
آپ کا جلوہ نہائی جب سے آنکھوں میں سمائی نیند ایک لحظہ نہ آئی، موت ہے اب تو جدائی، یا نبی سلام علیکہ، یا رسول سلام علیکہ، یا حبیب سلام علیکہ،
صلوات الله عليك.
اے نسیم کوئے جانا، جب مدینے سے تو آنا، بوئے زلف یار لانا، دل پریشاں ہے سنگھانا، یا نبی
سلام عليك
علیکہ، یا رسول سلام علیکہ، یا حبیب سلام علیکہ، صلوات اللہ علیکہ،
انہی کے وقت آنا، کلمہ طیب پڑھانا، مکر شیطان سے بچانا، چہرہ
انور
دکھانا، یا نبی
سلام
علیکہ، یا رسول سلام علیکہ، یا حبیب
سلام
علیکہ،
صلوات اللہ علیکہ،
یا الہی صدقہ آل رسول، یہ سلام آج گانا ہو، لا الہ الا اللہ، 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 محمد رسول اللہ صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ وسلم. اللہ لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم.
ایک دفعہ سورہ فاتحہ، تین دفعہ سورہ طلاق. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم وصل عليه. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا عذاب القلب وقنا عذاب المرض وقنا عذاب الميزان. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام وإليك يرجع السلام. حينا ربنا بالسلام وأدخلنا دار السلام. اللهم فقهنا في الدين. اللهم أجرنا من النار. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran that we've read, we ask you to send it foremost to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We ask you to send it to all of the prophets and the messengers, the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, the Tabi Tabi'een, the Shuhada, the Salihin, the Siddiqeen. We ask you to send it to all of the individuals of the Muslims who have passed away, our loved ones who have passed away. We ask you especially to send it to the martyrs of Palestine. We ask you to send it to the martyrs in Kashmir. We ask you to send it to the martyrs in Uyghur, China. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any loved ones, our fathers, our mothers, our grandparents, our uncles, our mamas, our chachas, anyone who has passed away, oh Allah, grant them the highest levels of Jannah. Oh Allah, grant them Jannah in the neighborhood of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The brother-in-law of Tayyib Sheikh Saab passed away yesterday. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make his grave a place of Jannah. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make the next few steps into Jannah easy for him. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, allow him to obtain shifa of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There is a brother who Dar Saab is very sick. Oh Allah, give him shifa kamila. And the mother of Sayyid Abad Sahib, she is also sick. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant her shifa kamila. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, today's itmam is by Nasir Rustam Sahib. Any individuals of his who have passed away, oh Allah, grant them the highest levels of Jannah. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgive the sins of Nasir Rustam. Oh Allah, forgive the sins of the family of Nasir Rustam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anyone who is sick within his family or within our family, oh Allah, grant them shifa kamila. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, grant patience to the individuals fighting to protect Masjid Palestine and Gaza. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, allow our Muslims to obtain victory. And oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give us Jannah in the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sallallahu ta'ala ala khayri khalqihi wa nuri arshi Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Inshallah, there's two programs that are coming up. The first is this coming Saturday on the 14th, the Grand Mawlid. Inshallah, the keynote speech will be by Sheikh Mustafa al-Madani Qadri, and a khususi dua by Shaykh al-Islam, Professor Dr. Muhammad Tahir al-Qadri, Damatkum Barakatum al-Aliyah, as well as a program for the youth and for all individuals on Friday, September 27th. Inshallah, it will start at 7 p.m. We've got a long list of speakers, including Sheikh Muhammad bin Yahya al-Ninawi. Inshallah, he will also be there. So I invite all of you, and bring your families and bring all of the children as well. Jazakumullahu khair.